Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is His Dark Materials, Episode 1. Now, the Golden Compass series seems like it was everyone's favorite growing up, at least until Harry Potter came around. Its first movie adaptation had a great cast, but was a big flop. But now you've got a BBC HBO show, and so far, reviews are good. Keep the book spoilers out of here, please. We're going to do show only for people that haven't read it yet. And now, let's dive into Episode 1. So we're in a parallel Earth, the main difference being that every person has a super cute animal companion. That's why kids all love this book. It's called a demon, spelled this way, and apparently it's a physical manifestation of your soul. The other main difference from our world is that it's ruled by the magisterium, a fancy word for the church. So we begin at Oxford in the dead of night, apparently after a flood. Lord Asriel, that's James McAvoy. He's dropping off a baby at the college. He invokes the privilege of scholastic sanctuary and says that she'll only be safe inside these walls. The assumption here is that the magisterium would be hunting this girl for some reason, and the college has scholastic sanctuary, so they can't touch her here. So 12 years later, baby's grown up into our main character, Lyra. She's got her best friend Roger, the kitchen boy, and she's had a great childhood growing up as a ward of Jordan College, she's a rambunctious little kid. The kids talk about their demons here. Lyra's is called Pan, short for Pantalaimon. They talk about what animal their demons will settle as. We see that as kids, it looks like they could change forms willy-nilly, but we see later that, when you're about a teenager, they settle on a form. Now, up at the North Pole, Lord Asriel is being a badass explorer. He must be a real cool nature photographer, because he's risking his life for the right picture of the Aurora Borealis. And when he gets back to develop them, he's like, oh, we did it, found the thing. Over at Jordan, Lyra's super excited. Her Uncle Asriel's back in town. She's gonna spy on his meeting, but first sees the headmaster poisoning his whiskey. Speaking of whiskey, if you're playing the drinking game at home, have a drink every time someone from Game of Thrones shows up. So Lyra saves her uncle's life. He seems rather unconcerned that someone's trying to kill him. Totally normal when you're a super cool Lord Adventurer. He lets Lyra hide in the cabinet and watch the big event tonight, his research grant pitch meeting. He took a picture up there of a man and a kid, and with a different type of filter, boom, the man's all glowy. He claims those particles are dust, and by the way the scholars freak out, he ain't talking about normal dust. It's still a big mystery to us, but what we do learn is that it binds on adults, it ignores kids. The other main thing is that any mention of dust is apparently super heretical, and the magisterium would not allow this to happen. We find out later that's why the headmaster was going to assassinate Lord Asriel, because after giving this presentation, the magisterium is probably going to revoke their scholastic sanctuary. Lord Asriel's got an even bigger discovery though. The pictures of the Aurora he was taking, with the dust filter on it. Oh, there's a city up there! Yeah, parallel worlds! To cap off his presentation, he pulls out a frozen head. Apparently that's the Professor Grumman who was out on a first expedition up there. Theoretically, he discovered this too, and the magisterium killed him for it. Lyra idolizes her super cool explorer uncle, and he seems to care for her too, even though he puts her in bed the wrong way. Lyra's determined to go with her uncle on his adventure, but he's like, hey, you're just a kid. I can't be taking you along to the North Pole. So he throws her off the airship. By the way, they have super sweet airships in this world, and apparently the airship pilots wait for no one because Asriel's still outside here hanging on in a super cool pose. Now we go over to a new group of characters, the Gyptians. I think that's a play on the word gypsy, or it's sort of like the way you say Egyptian with an accent. In either case, young Tony Costa is going through his bar mitzvah. He's a man now. His demon has settled on the form of a hawk. His little brother, young Billy Costa, meets a super scary fox demon, and oh, he's snatched up. The next morning, Roger tells Lyra about it. Word on the street is he was taken by the Gobblers. The Gyptians are looking for Billy Costa when some more Game of Thrones characters walk in. Apparently, lots of Gyptian villages have had kids go missing, so the Gyptians are sailing off to find their kids. Then we get a scene at the Magisterium. They seem like a classic evil empire, except with a religious theme. This guy's called Father, and they're talking about Lord Asriel's heresy, but yeah, more on them later. Then we meet a big new character, Mrs. Coulter. She's very nice to Lyra, and is apparently a super cool explorer scholar herself. And like a dream come true, she offers to take Lyra with her as her assistant. Lyra wants to take her friend Roger too, and she's like, yeah, I guess that's fine. But that night, the super creepy fox, and oh, Roger's gobblered up. The next morning, the head professors call Lyra in for a secret meeting. Apparently, they know something about Lyra. She's involved in some prophecy, but they don't tell her that for now. They're just like, hey, good luck out there, and here is a golden compass. It's called an alethiometer, and apparently it tells you you the truth. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with instructions, so Lyra's just shouting at it like, hey, where's Roger? It's also super illegal, so she's got to keep it a secret. Lyra's like, hey, Mrs. Coulter, I'm worried about Roger. And unlike most adults, which would brush her off, she takes it very seriously. She's like, look, the best thing we could do for him is go to London. If the gobblers got him, that's where they took him. Lyra almost misses the airship. I'm telling you, these pilots are on a tight schedule. But in any case, she's flying off on an adventure with the definitely not a bad guy, Mrs. Coulter. And that's how episode 1 comes to an end. Hit that subscribe button for weekly episode recaps of His Dark Materials, plus all of my other amazing recaps.